Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the POV with Dom podcast. My name is Dom, I'm your host today. I'm feeling in a very, very good mood. And I'm just ready to get chatty with you guys. So last week's episode, as I'm sure you've all heard, I was in such a bad mood. That episode was actually filmed 2 months ago to this day. And I can safely say that everything that I was stressing about 2 months ago today completely evaporated. No longer care about it. Everything's been sorted out. So it just goes to show everything does work out for me. And even you, if you start saying that to yourself, that's the mantra of today's episode. Everything always works out for me tenfold. I am so grateful that life has pulled a full switcheroo and it's like, do you want to know what, Dom? You're going to be sorted out fine. And if anything, I've come away from this stressful situation, as I said in the last episode, with a lesson learned of not to trust these type of people, to focus on myself and stop letting things, control me or my narrative. And also just to completely heal myself and move on from things that no longer serve me my purpose. And also the fourth thing, most important, some things are meant to happen. And yes, they are awful. And yes, they can absolutely cause turbulence in your life, but they're meant to happen to make you more resilient. Today, I'm going to be sharing my POV on ruts, on how I get out of them, on how I stop myself from getting into them, and, sort of adjusting your mindset that little bit to make you have an easier day. Let's face it, every single day we have things that get to us, things that make you feel like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out for tomorrow or XYZ. Deadlines exist. I'm getting at, there's things in our life that of course cause hurdles. For example, in my actual job, believe it or not, I've got one, influencing. I have a brand deal that I need to submit and I'm super stuck for an idea of what to make for the video to be funny and viral and people to resonate with it. And I got in my head today. I was like, oh my God, I for once, I'm having a creative block. Usually for content, I'm not stuck for ideas. I have 1,500 drafts on TikTok ready to be posted. I do chat a lot of shit, I must say. Anyways, I, for the first time today in a long time, was stuck. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is the end of my creative, abundant flow. It's not. A walk, some bangers and mash, which I made myself, by the way. I didn't just buy a microwave meal. I bought the mash, which was microwavable, and the sausages, which I cooked with some, onion powder. And I made the gravy as well. I'm slaying adult life, as you can tell, but nothing that a walk and some food couldn't fix. Now that's my go-to. Now a lot of you may be thinking, Dom, why are you telling me that eating food and going for a walk makes you feel good? Because that is me tending to my body's needs. So I need fresh air, I need to breathe, right? And I recently, oh my God, I went on this little side note. I went on a getaway with Elf Cosmetics last week. It was the most amazing spa retreat I've ever been to, the only one I've ever been to, and the best one I've ever been to. Oh my goodness, the girlies knew what they were doing. I had a facial, I had cryotherapy, I had an ice bath, we did Wim Hof breathing, 45 minutes straight of breathing. Within the first 10 minutes, the instructor asked us to breathe and hold our breath. We held it for 30 seconds. We did some deep breathing, the Wim Hof technique. By the end of that 45 minutes, he told us to hold our breath. We held our breath collectively for 2 minutes, 22 seconds and 22 milliseconds. The angel number, which is prominently known as don't worry, anxiety free, your angels are with you. I was shook. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. So yeah, needed that spa retreat. It was so good. And everything was vegan as well. And I'm really going to start taking that up into my own diet because I felt great after having it. And turmeric is that bitch. So I'm going off into such a tangent. What I'm trying to say is food is great for the body and I like to recharge myself, and also fresh air, right? So I'm doing my Wim Hof breathing on my walk because you can do it whenever you like and it really does restart the breathing. A little technique, if you care to listen. I'm sorry. I went to go and see Ray last week as well. That was also awesome. Thank you, Google Pixel. So basically, your nose. Put your finger underneath your nostrils and exhale. If it's coming out of the left, that means you are in rest and digest mode. If you feel the breath from your right nostril, that means you are in your fight or flight. So you need to do some breathing to calm yourself down. I'm not a trained Wim Hof instructor, but I'll tell you what I was taught. So basically, you breathe in through your nose for 3 seconds. And then exhale through your mouth. And repeat that back and forth for about 30 breaths. And that will balance it. genuinely does work. You might be thinking, Dom, I do this every single day. No, you're subconsciously breathing and it's not helping you. You need to genuinely refocus the mind, the body, and make sure that your belly also sticks out, was the fact that you taught us. Like, you can't just be breathing, and making your lungs expand. You've got to breathe through your belly as well. Anyways, huge sidetrack. I was on a walk today and I had some food. And what I mean by that is, going on a walk for me is mentally clearing, it's clarity, it's getting in nature. It's also just distracting myself from the real world for a bit, sticking on some music and just logging off my phone. Do not disturb is on. Then having a meal that I've made for myself. I noticed that food tastes a lot nicer when I make it for myself because it's more like rewarding. But that is just my own tips. It's just like rewarding my body for going on a long walk. And then I'm going to eat my food, and it's just energy, it's healthy, it feels good, and it makes me sort of get clarity a little bit, because when I'm shallow breathing, which is when you're on autopilot with breathing, which a lot of us do, even myself, when you go like, you just don't even recognize that you're breathing. I'm so sorry if I've made you manually breathe. If you're subconsciously breathing, a lot of those breaths are shallow breaths, so essentially that means that you're like not getting all the oxygen in, and it can promote anxiety. So today, obviously, I had one negative thing happen, and then of course the domino cascade effect happened. Thank you, Taylor, for that lyric. And I just overthought everything else, whereas in like, oh my god, no, like I've lost it, TikTok's not doing so well. You start picking up the negatives. So to bring myself back from this rut, if you'd like to call it that, or an overthinking sesh, or just self-doubt, I go for a walk and I eat some food. And I just sort of do stuff in my natural routine. And it's also rewarding because I actually did it, It's not something that I'm just procrastinating, thinking of going, I've got no ideas, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to sit here and cry. Like, I got outside, I went for a walk, deep breaths, listen to some music. I listen to frequency music sometimes on walks to just sort of rebalance myself. And then I came home and I made myself some food, as I've said, and it was just delightful. So where am I going with this? My POV on ruts is essentially that we all go through them. However, we all have our own version of solace, right? Solace is basically finding comfort in times of distress. So my Animal Crossing island is called Solace, right? My Stardew Valley farm is called Solace. And I love that word because during COVID, which is a very turbulent time, those games comforted me. However, now that I live in London and I can't spend all my hours gaming because I have to work to keep here, it's almost like a little gerbil on a wheel sometimes. It's how it feels. I'm sure you can agree, life can feel like that. Get off the wheel for a sec. Just take a deep breath. Stare at the sunshine. Like, get yourself in the zone of being grateful for the present moment. You stop thinking about the past, you stop thinking about the future, you realign yourself. And that is when, I'm doing tasks like going for a walk. I can be like, oh my god, there's birds, there's trees, there's people, there's beautiful little dogs running around. This is really helping me. I come home, oh my god, this is delicious food. I'm so grateful that I'm filling my body with nutrients and vitamins and things that I need to give me energy and keep me alive. And also it tastes bloody amazing. And speaking of, I'm getting really hungry again, thinking of it now. So what's your favorite thing to do? And I'm asking you, listener, I'm saying, what is your thing to do to relax, to unwind, to stop yourself from feeling all these emotions at once? Because it can be like a tornado of emotions in our head when we're in these things. As I said earlier, I felt one negative and then suddenly everything was a problem. And it became this huge ball of yarn in my head. And I went on a walk and I planned it out in my head. I was like, hey, what started this? Me thinking of this brand that I couldn't think of an idea of. Cool. How did I feel because of this? I felt like I was losing my creative spark. Is that true? No. Do we have off days? Yes. Give yourself more credit. Go home and have some food. Okay, great. Thanks, brain. It wasn't that verbatim, but it was along those lines, I feel like in today's day and age, everyone sort of pushes their feelings aside or pushes them downward with how they feel and how they're stressed out. Or they get it out in the wrong way by doing things that might not necessarily be good for you. I can't talk. I used to club till I couldn't walk. Like, I'd be coming home from the club, dancing all night, too many drinks, feeling horrendously, viciously awful, and knowing that tomorrow morning I've got to be up to do work, or tomorrow morning I've got to go to train at 8 a.m. And did I feel good? No. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm going out this weekend and I can't wait. But I know the balance of allowing myself time to breathe and disconnect, Becky Hill, and just sort of get in the now. I feel like too many of us focus on the future, the past, and they're like, oh my god, like I'm worried. if you just for a moment take a step back and be like, okay, what can I notice in this moment? And observing the things that you see in your current vicinity, or what can you do? What can you channeling the senses. Actually, I'm reading a book right now called The Power of Not Thinking. And essentially it teaches you to take in the current moment and observe, really, really observe your 5 senses. But there's actually more than 5 senses, which I was taught by both the book and the Wim Hof instructor. However, both of those extra 5 senses were different, which we can go into in another podcast episode. But yeah, I feel like nowadays it's getting more and more worse, where everyone is just sort of like piling on work for themselves, and instead of like doing little bits and steps to success, they allow it to completely consume them. And I'm here to say, listen, if you feel like your brain is a tornado and you are covered in sort of, oh my God, I don't know what to do, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so procrastinative, whatever, stop. Like literally, in the words of Matilda, quiet. Like sit down, realign in the current moment. What can you do right now in this moment to help with the goal that you're worrying about? For example, I'm worrying about this creative spark, so I'm not going to try and force an idea out of my head before end of play. I'm going to do this walk. I'm going to go home, have some food. I'm going to chill out in the evening. I might have a bath. I might play some games with friends. I might do a live stream, watch some TV, watch some YouTube videos, read a book as well, and also meditate. I'm going to try and do a meditation tonight, because that is when I really get to my root core of myself and I can be like, okay, cool, here comes an idea. However, ideas hit me all the time. I'm in the shower, an idea hits me. I'm humming around the house doing clothing, an idea hits me. I'm setting up a tripod for the podcast, an idea hits me. I feel like we are all full of ideas and all full of like things that we want to do. And if we try and do them all at once, which is something I'm very guilty of, you overwork yourself. If you're a workaholic, there's no payoff. You need to give yourself breaks regularly. I feel like this is such a tangent. I'm so sorry if it is. I think this is the thing with the POV with Dom podcast. There's no format for the episodes. I just think of something and run off it. However, I will from next week have more of a format. I just realized it's Tuesday evening. This podcast episode needs to go up within the next 3 hours. Classic Dom. To be fair, I have spent most of today panicking because my little brain was like, oh my God, Dom, you're not creative anymore. You're losing your spark. It's giving when you go on like a roller coaster. You went on it first when you were like 10 years old, and now I'm 21 and I go on the same roller coaster again, but this time I feel nausea and dizzy and gross. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like Phil Dunphy in that episode of Modern Family where he goes to Disneyland and Luke's having the best time of his life and Phil's there like, yeah, that's what it feels like. No, it doesn't at all. I don't know what I'm talking about. Again, we really need some structure. So speaking of structure, we're going to head over to the question of the day, and we might do multiple today because I haven't talked for too long, but we're going to get on to the POV with Dom, Agony Aunt, and answer some of your questions. Hey Dom, I've been grappling with a lot of overthinking lately. It feels like everything's piling on at once and I'm not sure how to handle it. Any advice on how I can navigate through this? This is such an interesting question because I felt exactly like this today. So first things first, let's start with setting boundaries with yourself. This is something that I will explore on in a future episode of POV with Dom, but setting boundaries is something that I've done for myself recently and it does wonders. I'll give you a little sprinkle of what's to come, but learn to say no when necessary. If you're already stretched thin, you need to prioritize yourself and your self-care. And you've got to allow yourself time to recharge, This next one is a little bit difficult, but I've read a lot of self-help books and a lot of them do say this. Challenging negative thoughts. Overthinking often involves a lot of like negative self-talk, and you might be battling yourself in your head and thinking, oh, I'm such a bad person because I haven't completed X or Y. So challenge these exact thoughts. Are they fact or are they fiction? Try and look for like evidence that contradicts these negative thoughts and allow yourself to be like, okay, I'm painting myself out to be a villain when I'm actually not. I'm trying my best. And replace those negative thoughts that you've thought up yourself that are completely false and replace them with more balanced and realistic ones. Also, seek support. Communication, as I've mentioned in a previous episode, communication is such an important way to tell people that you are also struggling. They can give you their own tips. They can give you, less pressure onto doing stuff. I told my manager today, I was like, babes, I'm really sorry. I'm really struggling to get this in. I don't know what to think. And she was like, have a night off. We'll recuperate in the morning. Get a good night's sleep in. Sending loads of love. And it was just needed. It alleviated so much pressure. And it made me feel like, okay, you want to know what? She completely understands where I'm coming from. There's absolutely no pressure to rush with this. We've got loads of time. There's no deadline yet. So go home, have a good night, rest, recuperate, and we'll go at it in the morning. And it also makes you feel less alone with your struggles because it feels, I think a lot of the time when we overthink stuff, in our head we're like, I'm the only person in the world feeling this right now. Everyone else has got their shit together but me. That's not the truth. All right? That's not the truth, Ellen. Everyone has their own struggles. I know I do sound like a bit like Cams right now, but hear me out. And some people might be very, very helpful with that and be like, hey, listen, I've been through this before. Here's how I did this. Another tip is actually YouTube videos. It's free. Going on YouTube, best ways to overcome overthinking, best ways to overcome a rut, because I'm not going to lie, you don't really have all the time in the world to read a full self-help book, and YouTube videos are often visual, as I'm a visual learner, and also condensed versions of a self-help book. Make sure that you use trusted creators and don't do anything super silly. And what I said earlier about the ball of yarn in your head, the next tip is to break it down. Essentially, all you need to do is start with the main thought that you're overthinking. If it's multiple, put them all down. Break it down, okay? So I'm feeling like this. Why? How can I combat this? What would this make me feel like? Is this fact or fiction? Stuff like that. Asking yourself, getting a journal is so helpful, guys. Or actually, if you haven't, on your phone, get the journal app. It's fabulous. It's free to use and it's great. Write out all your thoughts digitally. And lastly, now a lot of you might oppose this, but I would definitely recommend it to friends and family and even you guys, mindfulness and grounding techniques. As I've said before, when our minds aren't anchored in the present moment, chaos can occur. So take a chill pill. Find, what 5 senses are you currently dealing with? Are you grounded right now? Are you breathing through your left or right nostril properly? Mindfulness techniques range from deep breathing, meditation, focusing on your senses to bring yourself back to the present moment, journaling, painting, writing poetry, listening to calm music. Whatever zens you out, do that. It's self-care. I'm struggling to stop my thoughts when I overthink. I've tried meditating and it doesn't work. I saw on a live stream once that you were talking about meditation. Can you give me some more tips, please? Okay, I'm not a meditation expert, but I'm going to share with you what I know and also some things that you can do instead of meditating because it's not for everyone. So for me, I like to sort of put on frequency music. I like 432 hertz or 777 hertz or 555. The angel numbers don't really matter. It just depends on what sounds nice for you because some sound like horror music and some sound really lovely. Find a quiet space or have noise cancelling headphones. You can do it in the park, you can do it in your bedroom, you can do it in the bath, you can do it sat down on a chair in the office. Find a moment where you can just zone out of everything. I like to breathe in through the nose on a deep inhale and then exhale through the mouth and repeat that process. And in my head, I'll just envision this sort of grey, empty space. It's giving the world of salad fingers. I don't know how to explain it, but that is when I know that I'm not thinking of anything and I can just sort of be present in the moment. Meditations last, the longest I've done is probably about 20 minutes. I'm not one of those people that just do it for an hour straight, but it depends on how long you want to give yourself time for. Here are some other things you can do instead of meditation though that I've seen online. I've noted them down. Number 1, journaling, obviously. Writing down your thoughts can be a powerful way to externalize them and gain clarity. Set aside time each day to write freely without judgment. You can explore your thoughts, feelings, and worries on paper, which can often help release their hold on your mind. The voice crack, oh my God. Number 2 is progressive muscle relaxation. Practice progressive muscle relaxation techniques to help ease both physical and mental tension. Start by tensing and then slowly releasing each muscle group in your body, focusing on the sensations as you do so. This can help promote relaxation and reduce the intensity of racing thoughts. Number 3, this one's for my mum, right? Bless her. Massaging your hands and feet. Now she is big on reflexology. It's one of her main jobs. She's a reflexologist, and even I do this. If you Google the places of your body on your feet and your hands, when you massage a certain area, it stimulates the area that you're massaging. I have a reflexology chart here, and I'm going to look at the things. So, for example, your big toe. Where's your brain in your middle toe? No, sorry. Your big toe is head/brain. The top of your big toe, if you massage that as your head/brain. Your ring finger toe, I don't know what the hell to call it. The bottom of that is your neck. The top half is the sinus. Your stomach is the middle of your foot. It's crazy. There's so much of your body that you can massage with your hands and your feet. Also, essential oils. I know I sound like I'm anti-vax with that. I've been vaxxed 3 times, thank you very much. But lavender, putting that into a diffuser, deep breaths, it really sort of calms the soul. Tea tree oil as well is good. And make sure that you get them organically, because a lot of brands like to sort of push out these essential oils that are just synthetic and they're not good for you. So make sure that you spend that little bit more extra money and get essential oils that are organic and properly made, usually from like farms and stuff, because they're obviously made from the crops that they have there. So, oh my God, can my voice stop cracking, please? The next tip is trying to stop your thoughts altogether is possible. It's visualization. So like picturing yourself in a peaceful place or imagine your worries as a cloud passing by in the sky. This can help create distance from your thoughts and provide a sense of calm. So when you were younger, you couldn't get off to sleep, count sheep. You were taken to this world with 2 hills and I don't know how I actually never used to count sheep. So don't know the rules too much, but that sort of thing. Imagine like a world, you're frolicking through a beautiful flower field, there's rainbows and there's a meadow. Take yourself to a serene place, because it's like shifting. You guys remember that? Shifting? I shifted to Hogwarts, you guys. Did you, Ariane? Did you? Or was your sugar and E-number intake massive in lockdown because you had 15 Monster Energies every day? Anyways, oh my god, also sorry, if you guys want good mental health as well, gut health is a huge part of this. I need to do a whole other podcast episode on this, but my god, I was taught so much at this spa retreat. It's crazy. Make sure that you are feeding yourself good vitamins, nutrient foods. None of this like Monster Energies in a cigarette, because your gut health and your gut is responsible for like 90% of your mental health. So if you're giving your gut bad food, you're not going to be giving yourself good vibes, are you? Think about it. Anyways, I'm going to stop shouting at you guys. I don't think I've been in focus this whole episode. For those wondering what I'm talking about, if you only listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, every Sunday I upload the YouTube video of the same podcast episode. So I need to get a new camera. But thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I love you all so much. And I hope you're having a lovely, lovely week. And let's get out of these ruts and start prioritizing ourselves. Let's do it. And I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all soon. Bye.